Check, check, check. Hey, 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 what's up, everybody? Welcome. Hello, I am Jay Wall, Print That Thing, and today we're going to be learning some 3D print designing. So, everyone, thank you for coming. Russell's all the way from Australia, 3 o'clock in the morning. I love it. My mom's in the chat, so everyone say hello to my mom. Yeah! But yeah, today we're going to be learning 5 effects with Blender 2.8, the new and improved Blender. I know it used to be scary, but they've made a lot of updates and it's amazing. So let's go ahead and we're going to give it a few minutes to let more people come in because, you know, we're going to have some late stragglers. That's just the way live events goes. But I want to remind everyone, if you haven't already, make sure you have the new Blender installed and that you have the starter project because that's going to save like an hour of time for us. Let me know if y'all can hear me okay in the chat. Let's see what we got. Hey, we got, yeah, Blue Lou from New Jersey, Graham from North Wales. Live and clear. All right, yeah. Audio's very low. Thank you for letting me know. Let me try that. How about that? Audio check. 1, 2. Let's try this. Check, check, check. Let me bring it on up. Hey, 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 hey. We're now should be a little bit louder. Hopefully that's good. Okay. Hope I'm not blowing anybody's ears out with if you got headphones on. Yes, welcome everybody. I'm here in Nashville, Tennessee. I usually am in the middle of the woods in my 3D printing truck, but the Wi-Fi is pretty slow out there in the middle of nowhere. So I came to Nashville today to stream in HD. So still low audio. That's good audio now. Better. Okay, cool. Thanks. Hey, what's up, Mike Russo? Yeah, so Mike Russo is one of our students. That's great. Thanks for coming, Mike Russo. Yeah, cool. All right, so hopefully y'all can hear me mo better now. and that you've got your Blender project installed, turned on, everything. You got Blender open, ready to go. Also, if you just want to watch and just follow along, or just kind of just watch the process, that's totally cool too. So, if you want to follow along, go ahead. And before we start, I want to give a huge shout out to my friend Ed over at IO3DP, the Institute of 3D Print Design. He invited a bunch of people last minute, so thank you. I appreciate that. He does similar to what I do, online education, but he does more of the technical side for 3D printing. So definitely go check out io3dp.com, and it's really cool. It's very helpful to get perfect prints. So thanks, Ed. And I guess while we're still letting everybody jump in, I'll tell you a few quick, like a minute about my background. I'm, in case you don't know who I am, but I'm J-Wall, I'm Jason Wall, aka J-Wall, from Print That Thing. And we started a YouTube channel back in 2014. It was just a fun hobby, just to kind of get me into 3D print design. And now we've grown that to over 40,000 subscribers on all of our socials. And we've had 2 million channel views, and it's just getting crazy. So we also, I guess the most popular thing to know is my design that kind of got a lot of attention was 3D printed cat armor, which was super crazy. And then I kind of noticed pretty quick that 3D printing was fun and all. It was very tedious, but I really loved design, 3D print design. And I noticed a lot of people weren't really talking about 3D print design on YouTube and stuff. Most of the people were just talking about printers and how to do things with printers. But I wanted to really focus on design, so that's where my love is. And then I started teaching kids in Nashville through all the different middle schools and high schools through this STEM program, and found out pretty quickly that majority of these kids do not care about 3D printing. You'll have that one like engineering kid, in the background, in the back of the class, who's like, super into it, but everyone else is they don't care. I'll be like, hey, this is going to 3D print in 20 minutes. And they're like, 20 minutes? That's forever. So definitely wasn't the crowd. So I decided to try and teach people online to kind of just throw a broader net to help people. And so that's what we're doing now. We last year we started our online courses, and we've already helped tons and tons of students all across the globe, really. And I made a ton of really awesome friends. And then Mike Russo, he's in the chat. So he was one of our students a few months ago, and he's already doing like design work for his company and stuff. It's pretty cool. So I love seeing that. I love talking to them in the Discord pretty much every day. We talk about just different stuff, but just wanted to help as many people as I can. I feel like that's my kind of like my calling in life. I love 3D printing, and I love filmmaking, and I love teaching. So I'm just kind of mushed them all together, and I'm going to just try and shine my light as bright as I can. So yeah. And thanks everyone out there for doing the surveys. Me and Amber is Indie Mutt right there in the chat. That's my lover lady. She helped build all this and put all this together. So thank you to her as well. And we had a blast just reading through all y'all's comments on the surveys. So thank you for taking the time to do that. It really helps us kind of know who we're talking to. So from the surveys, it sounded like we've got a lot of people who have never ever touched a 3D printer or done design work like that before. And we also have people that are kind of in the middle. They've tinkered with like Tinkercad or some other kind of introductory softwares. And then we've got people that are pretty advanced and know softwares like Fusion or Autodesk type softwares, more professional softwares, and kind of everything in the middle. So I wanted to know, what kind of printers are y'all using today? So go ahead and type in the chat what kind of printers you're using, and is it FDM or is it resin? You can call it the name. It's all good. Hey, what's up, Robin? Big Bird. Yes. So Robin's one of our students too. Thanks for coming to join us, Robin. I'm currently rocking a CR10 and a CR10S. I love them. I love FDM printers. I have done SLA. with the Form 1 and is cool. It's nice. It's just kind of just kind of messy, and I have dogs and everything. So, just having hair everywhere is pretty normal for me, but I would like to get more into it this year. All right, so we got FreeCAD, we got Formlabs, Anycubic Photon, ANETs, MakerBots, FDMs, Rise 2. All right, thank y'all. Yes. So a lot of FDM, Ultimakers. All right, Creality Ender 3 Pro. Ender 3s. Okay, cool. So the design we're going to be talking about today. Ooh, Bulu's got the Mars. Okay, get it. That's great. Anycubic XYZ Duo. Let's see. Monoprice. Cool. I haven't used the ANET or the Ender 5. Does anyone use the Prusa? I really want to get there we go. Bob's got Prusa i3, Prusa Chiropractic. Oh yeah. Big Bird. I forgot you have Prusa. Robert Cole, ANET. Okay, a lot of ANET. Okay, Daniel's got everything going. That's great. So mostly FDM. We got a few SLA kind of resin printers. And maybe some people that don't have any printers at all, and that's totally fine too, because you can still design without a printer, and send them off to services online. So that's totally cool too. All right, cool. So just so you know, the workflow I'm going to be teaching y'all today it's mainly for FDM, but it will still work for resin printers. Same type of workflow. So just so you know, I know that's a common question. And before we dive in, I know I saw in the chat that a lot of y'all or some of y'all were using Fusion 360 and some other software, FreeCAD. But I wanted y'all to know this is not like Blender is better. This is the best software ever. This is not what this is. I'm not trying to bash any other softwares. This is really just, I love Blender because it's open source and it's all about community. I think I was teaching Devin from Make Anything a few months ago, and we both agreed it's good just to know all the softwares, as many softwares as you can know, the better, because some softwares have strengths where other ones don't. So it's just good to kind of add another tool to your tool belt. I know Devin from Make Anything really liked Blender for sculpting, so maybe he would do his Fusion kind of base model and then bring it on into Blender and do some effects or sculpting. So that's a good workflow too. And so let's go ahead and dive on in it. Do y'all have any questions or concerns or thoughts or anything before we start diving into the training? Oh yeah, Graham, gotta love open source. And that's another thing too. I mean, 3D printing is pretty open source, and so is Blender. So I thought they kind of just went hand in hand, and I thought it would be a good way for someone who's kind of introductory to just get into a 3D, a professional 3D software. I bought Cinema 4D back when I first started. I bought a MakerBot for like $3,000, and then I bought Cinema 4D for like $2,000 because I was like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna learn 3D, and I did, but I wouldn't recommend that to anybody. So I want to teach people free software. That way you can kind of get your feet wet, see if you like it. Also like that Blender, you can start making money with your designs from day one. I know with Fusion and some other softwares, I think if you make past a certain threshold of cash, you have to pay a license. So I thought that would be another plus, for doing for Blender. So let's see if we got any questions. Isn't easier than Fusion 360? I don't know. I haven't learned Fusion 360. That's my next one. I'm going to do beginner's introduction to Fusion 360, China AI. So yeah, any other questions before we go? I don't see any in the chat. Ooh, Andy said he uses OpenSCAD for most things, and he loves to code. Well, great, Andy. I love that. I have dabbled with OpenSCAD, and if anyone who doesn't know what that is, you can type in code, and it generates a 3D object from the code. So if any people are coders, that may be a way to get into design as well. Andy, if you know any Python, you can use Python inside of Blender to create objects too. That'll be in our more advanced classes, but it's pretty awesome. So I'm not seeing any questions, so let's go ahead and dive in. Are y'all ready to go? Are y'all ready to learn? And I will be going, I'll try and go pretty slow and just kind of show you the flexible 3D printing workflow. Actually, before we dive in, I got a little ahead of myself. The purpose of this training is to teach you my flexible 3D print design workflow in Blender. Blender doesn't, when you first open Blender, it's not really set up for 3D printing. It's all in meters, so everything's really huge, and all the it's just not set up. So the file that I emailed y'all with the little starter file, go ahead and open that up if you haven't, and that will have everything just set up for millimeters and get ready to go for 3D print design. All right, let's go. I love it. Robert, Ian, Brian, and Azrael. China. Okay, let's do it. But yeah, so sorry, I'm kind of going all over the place. But we're going to do the flexible design workflow, and then we're going to set up Blender for your 3D printer. So go ahead and get the dimensions, the build dimension volume of your printer in your mind, or just if you have a bunch of printers, just pick one, and we're going to use that to set it up. And then we're also going to teach you all these different effects. So we're going to make one that's just this Voronoi Suzanne, just a manifold, watertight, just a 3D printable object. But then I'm going to show you how to take that same object and then add a bunch of different effects to it. Super easy. So we're going to do all these different effects. They look really complicated, but they're super easy. And you can do this to any design. I'm also going to show you the 3D printing toolbox, which is amazing. And yeah, it's great. So also, I do teach educational materials. So at the end, I will be showing you guys what we offer as far as our educational material. So you'll be able to see if any of that is a good fit for you. And stay till the end. We're going to do some Q&A. So if you have any questions at the end, we'll just kind of have a little hangout session, and we'll have some surprises and some other stuff. Oh yeah, and so thank you, Amber, for sending the starter file. So everybody go ahead and get your starter file. Hopefully you have Blender already open. I'm going to switch to my desktop real quick. Let's do here. Bloop. And let's go to Blender. So let's see what we got. Anyone? How do we load Blender? Okay, great. So Andy's got the first question. I love it. Let's do it. And we are going to stop from time to time, but here we go. So before we dive in, actually, Andy, I got some theory to throw at you guys. So hopefully you can see my Thoi theory. Can everyone see the Thoi theory here? This is just for anyone who's never done any 3D print design before, just to kind of keep in mind when you are 3D print designing. There are kind of a few, I don't want to call them rules, but they're kind of like conventions. So these are the 4 main ones that you need to think about, and you can use them to your advantage and get really creative. So the first one, I call it the Thoi theory, but the first one is the T, which is the 90-degree angle. And that is like anything that's hanging over 90 degrees and it's just kind of floating in the air. The printer is going to have a hard time printing that because there's nothing for it to land on. So you're going to need to add support material in your slicing software. And slicing software is another software. There's free ones, there's ones you can buy, but it will essentially do it automatically for you, and will kind of try and help the printer print those edges that are sticking out. So just keep in mind, like, anytime you have designs that are just sticking out like a T, you don't, I'm not saying you can't do that. I'm just saying if you do that, you're going to need supports. So you want to kind of, I like to teach people to 3D print with no supports, because it just looks cooler when it 3D prints. It just kind of like, evolves onto the printer, and then you can just pick it off and it's ready to go. You don't have to do any cleanup. So that's kind of my style that I like. But sometimes you just have to use supports, and you just got to do it. So the next one is the H, and that is to represent bridging. And bridging is what it sounds like. It's kind of like the 90 degree. It is still technically a 90 degree, but it the nozzle from the 3D printer or the resin will slide over and land on the other kind of post. So it kind of creates a bridge, and then the print can continue going. So for that kind of instance, you wouldn't need support material because it's bridging. So you can get really creative with bridging techniques. It's very cool. So always keep that in mind. If you're like, oh, how am I going to do this? You can kind of think, oh, could I bridge? You could think like that. The next one is the O, and that is for arcs. The dome is a very strong shape, but this is kind of just the arc. So notice that if you can see kind of the little layer lines, it's going to start slowly drooping in. It will get kind of tricky near the top of the O, but it will usually make a perfect little arch there. So when you're doing 3D print design, it's really good to do curvy type things. Think futuristic, think curvy. That's going to help you get away with a lot of things. And then there's the infamous 45-degree rule. And all that means is, anything past 45 degrees, you may start to need support material. I usually go pretty far. I'm like the 55, 65 degree rule kind of guy. But when you're just starting out, it's good to keep in mind the 45-degree rule. And that kind of helps you. So that's just a little bit of theory before we dive in. And yeah, let's go ahead and do it. So Andy had a question. How do we import our Blender file? So let's go ahead and do that. Everybody, if you haven't, this is Blender 2.82. It's the latest and greatest. If you've just opened it up, just click on General. Let's see. And so now what you want to do is go to the top left, hit File, and go to Open. And then click Open. And then you want to find, use the left side over here to kind of navigate to where you have that file saved. Mine's just here on the desktop, Blender for 3D printing default. And yours probably looks like this. So if you want to see icons, you can just go to this little drop down and go to thumbnails. I think that looks a little more engaging, but so there's your thumbnail, and then just open that Blender file. Boom! And you should have a nice 3D monkey staring at you. And then if you go to item over here in the top left, top right, excuse me, and you hit in. If you don't see that, you can hit in on your keyboard, and that's the information panel, and that will make sure that's showing there for you. And notice on the dimensions of the XYZ down here at the bottom, it is now in millimeters. So yay! So we're in millimeters. It's also done a lot of stuff behind the scenes. I used to teach how to set this up in the live trainings, and it takes like an hour. So I just made this to quickly get everyone up to speed. And we do have a video that goes over every single step. If you're more of a technical person and you want to know like what were the 27 steps I took to set up this file, there is a video for you. It's on YouTube, and it's inside of our Beginner 101 course. And I'm going to turn on my shortcuts here. You guys won't see the shortcut tab, but down here in the bottom right, it'll show you which buttons I'm clicking. So just in case you're like, what is going on? All right, so now we've got our default kind of setup. But what I want y'all to do is type in your dimensions. So to do that, everyone scroll out with your mouse wheel, or you can grab this little zoom right here. It's like a little colorful widget, and right below that is a magnifying glass with a plus sign. If you click and drag on that, you will zoom out a little bit, and you should see a little box. I'm going to grab this hand and just kind of pan it down here and zoom out a little bit more so y'all can see what we're working with here. So everyone should see this like box right here. I'll highlight it yellow real quick. Yours will be turned off, so you can't click it. But essentially, this is just to represent your 3D build volume. So if you go to the right and click on the side where it says CR10 volume, you can rename that anything you want. So if you're using an ANED 3 or Prusa, you can call it Prusa volume. Anything you want. It doesn't matter, but just double click on that and then just rename it anything you'd like. And then down in the information panel, right here, you're just going to simply type in the dimensions. Somebody give me some dimensions of their printer in millimeters in the chat, and then we'll do one real quick. If anyone knows off the top of their head, you should. But if you don't, that's okay. or you can just keep it kind of there. A good kind of starter size, if you've never done design before, you can just do 100 by 100 by 100, and that's pretty small. That's a good like size for starter printers. And I don't see anyone saying anything in the chat, so I'll just go ahead and do 100 by 100. So I'll just type in 100 right here at the top for X, and then you can do Y. Okay, hey, we got one. Machine Oblivion, thank you. So in China, all right, there we go. Sorry, I forgot there's a delay. So let's do 220 by 220 by 230. So that theirs is more of a cube kind of. So you can do that, and then just take the Z location up there at the top, and you can just slide that down or cut it in half. So you can just say 100. It was at 200, so you can just do 100, and that will bring it kind of down to the bottom. So Fluco said, "I already don't like Blender." Oh, I think you can change the UI Fulco in the preferences, so you can change it, I believe, to a lighter version if you want. But there we go. So now we've got a 3D printer set up. Hopefully everyone's got that set in their... Alan said he can't find the info tab. All you have to do is hover over your 3D print toolbox and press in on your keyboard. That's in for information, and it should tab that open. Sometimes it can be twiddled up, so it might say transform up in the top right, and you can twiddle that, and that should give you the information. Alan? PV Striker, no, this is a brand new. He asked, is this useful if you use Blender 2.7? No, this is a brand new user interface, so this will be a completely different download and software experience. Okay, so now once everyone's got their printer set up, just go ahead and hit File, and this is the most important part. We're going to do File, and then down at the bottom, you're going to go Defaults and say Save Startup File. And you've got to hit it twice because it wants to make sure that you are doing it. So do Save Startup File, and then hit Save Startup File again. And now, anytime that you open Blender from now on, it's going to open with this layout for your 3D printer. So that is just super helpful, and we're going to have everything in millimeters. So now what you want to do is save your project. Please, everybody, save your project. This is the very, very important. So to do that, just go to the top left, do File, Save or Save As, and then just save it anywhere. I'm going to just do on the desktop, and you can call it Monkey Effects. Monkey Effects. And then just click Save As. It's going to add a .blend to the end of it, and then just save again. And there we go. So now at the top, you should see where you saved it and the name of the file. And then let's see. So next, what we're going to do is in the information panel, you should see over there to the right, you should have a 3D print toolbox. It should say 3D print on the side. And then right above that is edit, and you should have Bool tool enabled. If you don't, then all you have to do is go into edit, go under preferences, and go to add-ons, and just turn those on. So under add-ons, you can type in Bool. Make sure object Bool tool is checked, and then you can erase that in the search field and just type 3D, and then make sure you have mesh 3D print toolbox. Those are the only two we're going to use today. There's a ton of add-ons and things that you can use, but that's the main two. And I see some people said they're already falling behind. Don't worry, Alan. If you are, just kind of sit back and just watch. You don't have to try and follow along if you're already getting lost from here. So just kind of watch, and I'm going to just show you the workflow. That way you can kind of see how it all is done in Blender. And so the next thing I want to show you while we're inside of the preferences is if you go to the third one from the bottom, the System tab, we want to change the undo steps from like 30, just crank it up all the way, or you can just click in there and type 256. That's going to let you do a lot more undos. Just when you're first starting out, it's going to be very helpful. And if we have anyone out there that's doing Blender without a mouse, or they don't have like a 3-button mouse, or you have like a trackpad, then what you want to do is go to Input, and right here at the mouse spot, you're going to check the box that says Emulate 3-button mouse, and that's going to help you when you're moving around. And if you have like a really short keyboard it doesn't have like the little number pad on the side, you can also emulate numpad up there at the top. So that's just for anyone out there who may be on a laptop like me. And then you're going to go to this little hamburger stack down here in the bottom left of your preferences and do Save Preferences. All right, so now that's kind of all the boring stuff. I just wanted to kind of get your Blender set up and get you going. So that will kind of get everything going. Go ahead and make sure you hit Save with Control or Command S. You can also go File up here and do Save, just to make sure you lock in all those changes. And then next what we're going to do is do our Windows overview. So I know when you first open a 3D software, it can be like deer in headlights, like what am I looking at? But I'm just going to go over each one of these 4 different windows so you kind of get a rough understanding of what they are and what they do. So the main big one here in the middle is your 3D viewport, and that's where you can orbit around with this little widget here. You can zoom in right there. You can use the hand to pan around, and then you can also pop into orthographic and perspective. Don't worry about that if you're new. And then you can also pop into your camera view, as if you're looking through a camera. So you can just orbit with this little widget here to get out of that. But that's how you, this is your essentially where all the magic's going to happen, where you're going to mess with your objects. And then to the right of that, you have this in the upper right-hand corner, you have your layers essentially. So I've got you set up with your studio, with your camera and your 3D printing volume, your different lights. And then down below, we have another little kind of thing that says flexible design. And that, if you look to the left of flexible design, it looks like a little house or something. These are called collections in Blender. And essentially, they're just like folders. So you can just think of them as folders. And that helps you keep everything really organized. I'm going to go ahead and twiddle up the studio. So if you want, just go ahead and twiddle up the studio just to give us a little bit more room in our layers here. And then below the layers here, we have all these different tabs, all these colorful tabs, and they all do many different things depending on what you're trying to do. But for us today, we're mainly just going to use this little wrench right here in the middle. So go ahead and click on the wrench, and that is going to be our modifiers, or essentially where we're going to add effects to our designs. So I'm going to go ahead and take a little break here. That was kind of a lot to take in, so give you all time to kind of catch up and ask any questions. Let's see. All right, so it looks like people are already pretty lost. Am I recording the stream? Yes, so Marcus, we will be sending this out afterwards. Like I said before we started, we will be going over each of the design process, but we will send this out for anyone who wants to kind of watch again. Let's see if you haven't. Okay, cool. Thanks for helping there, Peter. All right. So I'm not seeing any questions. Also, Amber or Indy Mutt is in the chat, so she can help with some questions too while I'm going through this, and I'll keep an eye on the chat up here. Okay, and so for the next thing, inside of Blender, we have, all right, Bob says, keeping up. How do you move, Maria says, how do you move the 3D print cube down? You can click on the your CR10 volume or, your printer volume. And in your information tab on the top here where it says location XYZ, you can just drag the Z coordinate, to kind of place it kind of more near the bottom. Let's see. Yeah, Daniel said it's not easy on a laptop. I'm on a laptop. I think most 3D artists do not want to work on laptops, but I use it every day on a laptop. It does take some getting used to. Let's see. John asked how to get the box level. So same thing. Just go to your information and then drag the Z down. That should help. What was the name of the plugin? John asked. That is 3D Print Toolbox and the Bool tool. So those are those two. About the in key toggle. Yes. So Andy, the in key is the in, for Nancy. Like yes. Thank you, BC Wood. Yes. So just press the in key on your keyboard. Okay, cool. So hopefully that answered some. Michael asked, how long is this course? We're going to try and get done within the next 30 minutes. And so the entire training that I have on my website of this is about 2 hours, and we go into a lot more details. But today I'm just kind of giving you the overview, kind of crash course. Yeah, so about 1 hour for today. So I'm trying to get y'all out of here by 1 o'clock my time. And so now let's keep on designing. Now we get to do the fun stuff, which is making some that's 3D printable. And I could just show you a bunch of tools and like what every tool does, but I think that's just really boring. So we're actually going to have something for you to 3D print today. And we'll also I'll send you some of my files just so you have them. But I want you guys and girls to create something. And then you'll also have 5 other designs with effects. So let's go ahead and jump in it. So next thing we want to do is how do we delete or add an object? So you should have your little monkey around here. So just click on the monkey. If you want to delete an object, all you have to do is hit X on your keyboard. So just hit the X on your keyboard. I'm not going to do that. Or you could go to the right over here and right click on Suzanne and hit delete. So that's how you would delete an object if you ever need to. Or if you have, say you don't see the monkey and you need to add the object, all you have to do is go into the top left of your Blender screen here, and there's a drop down that says add. So you could click add, and then there's mesh, and do a monkey down here at the bottom. And that will bring the monkey up for you. And when you click that, you'll see add monkey, this little thing at the bottom left corner here, and you want to twiddle that up and just type in, for the size of the monkey, just type in 50, and that will get you where we are with the the right size monkey there. But I don't need another Suzanne, so I'm just going to delete that, and there we go. Another cool thing inside of Blender is the different viewports. So at the top right, there's these 4 little circles or spheres, and one is wireframe. So if you wanted to see your object in wireframe mode, you could click that, and then you could do the second one, which is what we've been in, and that's just object mode. So you can just see kind of the object. And the next one is material preview. So if you have colors on, like I do here, then you should see this red monkey. And then the last one is my favorite, and that is the rendered view, and that is the new real-time render engine inside of Blender, which is insane and amazing. So I always 3D design in Eevee because I think it's really cool looking, and I like seeing all the shadows when I'm designing. So I'm going to stay in Eevee. You can be in any one of the last 3. Those should be fine. So pick any one you want. If you have a really slow computer, it may be best to stay in solid. So I'm going to stay in Eevee. And next, we want to move around. How the heck do we move around? That's a huge question. So like I said earlier, you can use this little widget up here at the top. You can use the zoom to zoom in and out. You can use the hand to pan around, and you can use the camera here to go into camera view, like you're looking through a camera lens. But just kind of use your little widget there to get out of that if you did. But what I want to teach you is how to move around a little bit easier. So to do that, you can use, if you're using a 3-button mouse, you can just push in that scrolly wheel. And if you push in the scrolly wheel, it will let you orbit around. So everybody take a second and just kind of practice orbiting around. And then if you hold Shift and click your middle mouse wheel, then that will pan. So Shift and middle mouse wheel will pan, and Control and middle mouse wheel will let you zoom in and out. And I know there may be some people out there that don't have a 3-button mouse. That's totally fine. As long as you've got enable 3-button mouse inside of your Blender preferences, then you can do what I'm doing and just hold Alt on your keyboard. And if you Alt and click, that will let you orbit. And if you hold Shift and Alt, that will let you pan. And if you hold Control and Alt, that will let you zoom. So that does take some time to get used to. So beginners, you know, it might be best for you to use these little buttons over here. But for anyone who's done 3D programs before, that's kind of a quicker way to do it. And then so next what we're going to do is the basic tools overview. So I just want to give you a really quick run through of what these tools are to the left here. So the first one on the left is your selection tool. And if you can't see your tools, like if it's just like nothing's there, there's a little arrow that you can click on right there. Or you can hit T on your keyboard. So that's T on your keyboard. As long as you have your mouse over the viewport, you can hit T, and that will bring up your tools. So we've got your selection tool, and if you click and hold on the selection, you've got all these different types of selection. You can just do the tweak, which is the one I use the most. You can do box select, where you kind of like drag a box around something to select, or you can do select circle, which is more like kind of like a paintbrush. You can select things, and then you have your lasso, which is kind of a more of a you know, can draw kind of a odd shape around things to select things. And a quick way to toggle through those is just W on your keyboard. So you can just hit W, 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 and that will switch through the selection mode. And I'm just going to leave mine on the first one, the tweak right here. And then the one tool right below that, it looks like a crosshair. That is your 3D cursor. So the 3D cursor, kind of think of it as like an anchor. That's how I think of it. So if you had the 3D cursor, you can essentially like tell Blender where you want things to appear. Like if we wanted to put like a hat on the top of Suzanne here, I could click on the 3D cursor and click on the top of her head, and now any objects that we add would appear right there where that 3D cursor is. Or say if you wanted to like orbit around certain things, you could put the 3D cursor and then go up to the top and say, you know, you could do the 3D cursor up here at the top, and that would let your objects rotate around the 3D cursor. But I'm just going to put it back to median point. So that's the 3D cursor. We're not going to go too deep into that today. And I'm just going to reset my 3D cursor with Shift S. And then over here to the left, we want to say cursor to the world origin. And that's just going to snap it back to the middle. And then down below here, we have our 3 or 4 different tools that I want to show you. And one is the move tool. So as long as you have your Suzanne selected, everybody's click on your Suzanne. And if you have this little crosshair, you know, it looks like 4 arrows, that's your move tool. So you can use these little colored lines to move your monkey all around. So everyone just click and grab and move your monkey. That's one way to move your objects. And then if you want to reset, you can hit Alt-G, and that will just snap the monkey back to where it was. And then the next tool is the rotate tool, and you'll see these kind of like a beach ball appear on your object that you have selected, and you can click on these colored lines and rotate the monkey around the x-axis or the y or around the z. And there you go. So that's one way to rotate things. And if you want to reset the rotation, you can hit Alt-R. Essentially, Alt-R is just like resetting rotation. And then you have the scale. So that's this one. It looks like a little box with a bigger box around it. And that is your scale. So you can grab these little handles and scale objects, you know, any way you want, like that. And you can always reset the scale just with Alt-S, and that will reset the scale. And that's the visual way to do it. And the one below the scale tool, that is your transform tool. So that's essentially all the previous 3 tools all in one. So if you click on that one, it's got the move, it's got the rotation, and it's got the scale all in one place. So if you like that, then you can do that too. And then Andy said his monkey has gone for a walk. So you can hit click on the monkey or Suzanne layer, Andy, and then hit Alt G and with your mouse over your 3D viewport, and that should bring your Suzanne back. Okay, and then let's see. So now I want to show you, so we've kind of went over how to move an object, but now we're going to go into edit mode, which is where we can control every little detail about our monkey here. So most of the time you're going to be in object mode. So if you look in the top left, you're in object mode, this little drop down here. But most of the workflow, you're always going to be switching between object mode and edit mode like that. So you'll notice when you go into edit mode, it's got these little dots here, and that is how you know that you're in edit mode. And an easy way to flip in and out of edit mode is just to hit tab on your keyboard. So tab, 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 and that will switch you back and forth. You'll do this hundreds of times while you're 3D designing things. So just stay in edit mode, and then notice at the top, right beside that drop down at the top left, you've got this little guy here that's highlighted blue. It's like a little square with a dot on it. That's points, lines, and faces. These three buttons right here. And so if you are taking notes, just write down points, lines, and faces. That's the three things that make up 3D geometry. So if you click on the first one, that's your point mode. They call them vertices. Same thing. So you can click on any one of these points. Notice that it lights up when you click on it. And so you could click on a point and then go to your move tool and kind of move points around anywhere you like. Then the next one is your edges. So up in the top left, you've got the second one, which is edges, or you can hit 2 on the top of your keyboard, and that will switch you into edge mode. And notice the dots have disappeared, and now we have all these little edges like this. And so you can, you could rotate some of those edges if you want, like that. And that just gives you a lot more control over the geometry of your Suzanne here. And then the last one is your faces. You could also hit 3 on your keyboard, and that will go into face mode. And notice if you select or click on parts of the monkey here, it will light up, and you can pick a face that you want to affect, and maybe we want to use the scale tool, and you can scale up different faces and do things like that. So that's the kind of the 3 ways that you can do editing. That's super basic, but we're not going to go too deep into editing meshes today. What I really want to teach you is how to make this monkey 3D printable, because it looks like it's 3D printable, but it's actually not. And that's why I like using Suzanne, because she looks 3D printable, but it is an illusion. So today I'm going to show you how to fix a design. You could use this for designs you might find on Thingiverse that are messed up. You can use the same technique, same workflow to fix a model. So I'm going to go ahead and switch into we'll take some questions here real quick. Hey everybody. So I know that's a lot to take in, but hopefully you've learned a little bit just about the user interface so far. I know it's a lot to take in, but I think if you just dive in and kind of follow along or replay the video, then you're definitely going to be learning a very powerful software that can do a lot of crazy stuff. And so we said, looks like Royston said we may need to refresh the page. Let me see what our stream is saying. Excellent condition. Hopefully everyone's getting a good stream over here. But yeah, let me know if y'all have any questions before we dive into the fun stuff, which is making Suzanne 3D printable. This is my favorite part. So first we're going to just make her 3D printable, and we're going to flatten the bottom so that we don't have to 3D print with any supports. And then once we do that, we're going to add a bunch of crazy effects and do some wild stuff. So we got a question, John. I haven't worked out how to move the bottom of Suzanne. to the origin. That's okay. For this lesson, you shouldn't have to do that. You can just kind of leave it where it is, John. That's no problem. Mike said he lost the printer volume wireframe. That's okay. You can always just reopen that Blender file that I gave you, or you can re-download it and it should be there for you. Okay, cool. Michael, thanks. Yeah, I know this is a lot to take in, but I was kind of assuming that people would, kind of replay if they need to. All right, Super DJ, how do I fix Suzanne? Yes, we will do that next. Michael, Control Z, yes, we'll undo. And you should be able to do 256 undos. Yes, equivalent Alt G. Yeah, and like Amber was saying, sometimes it's best just to watch the process, kind of just sit back and enjoy it, and just kind of watch the magic happen, and then you can go back and train and go through it. We also have a Beginner 101 series that will go over all this step by step, and since you signed up for the training today, you do have access to that. So I'll send you links to that later. Oh, cool, we got someone on Linux. That's great. Cool. Leonardo said this is great. Cool. Just got around enlarging the volume, delete and reload Suzanne. Thanks, Big Bird. Going well. Okay, good. All good. File revert. Go back to original. Thanks, Robert. Finally got the chat to work. Blender is much easier than the YouTube chat. That's hilarious. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and have some fun. We've got about 10 minutes, so I don't know if we may go a little over today, so I apologize. And if anyone needs to leave, we'll send you the recap. But let's go ahead. For anyone who else is ready to go, let's do it. So let's go back into Blender, and let's see here. Look at my notes here. Next, we are going to pop these eyes out. So everyone should still be in edit mode. If you're not, just make sure you have your over your 3D viewport. Oh, sorry. Make sure you're over your 3D viewport here. Hit tab. You're either in object mode or in edit mode. So hopefully you're in edit mode. And I want you to hover over Suzanne's eyes. So just try and put your mouse over Suzanne's eye and hit L on the keyboard. L for linked. So L is just going to select anything your mouse is hovering over that's linked. And then if you put your mouse over the other eyeball and hit L, that's going to select the other eye. So you should have both eyes lit up like a crazy person. And this is to show you that these are separate meshes. Like technically, they look like Suzanne's eyes are in her head, but in reality, to a computer or to a like a 3D printer, it's not 3D printable. It's going to give you all kinds of mess ups and artifacts. So what I want you to do is pop these eyes out of her head. And to do that, make sure you have both selected. So make sure you hit L and L over both eye and have them lit up like this. And then what I want you to do is go to your keyboard and hit P on your keyboard. P for pop, and that will pop out the eyes. You should get a drop down that says separate and then selection. And notice to the right, you should see it where it says P. That's the shortcut. So P for pop, and we're going to pop it off by selection. So just choose the first one there. And notice what happens on the right side of the layers here. So you should have in your flexible design, it should say Suzanne. And then right below that, we have a new layer that we just created called Suzanne 001. So just double click Suzanne 001 and just rename that eyes, because that's what they are. They are Suzanne's eyeballs. We just popped out of her head. So hopefully everyone's done that. And now what I want you to do is hide Suzanne's eyes. So there's an eyeball layer on the eyes layer. That's confusing. There's an eyeball to the far right. You can click that and that will turn off her eyes, or yeah, just do that. So turn off her eyeballs, and notice Suzanne's head here is like, just has huge holes in it. And that means that it is not 3D printable. It is non-manifold, or it is not watertight. So that means printers are not going to like it. So what we're going to use is the 3D printing toolbox. This is an add-on that comes free with Blender that lets you fix designs really easily. So everyone go to the right side of your information panel. If you don't see it, hit N on your keyboard for Nancy or information, and that will pop out your information. Make sure you're on your 3D print tab, and the 3D print tab toolbox, is kind of like a little Swiss Army knife. It can give you all kinds of things. So for stats, you can do the volume, and it'll tell you the volume in cubic centimeters. And then you can do the area. It'll give you the area. But most of the time, we're going to be using these checks. And that is all these little guys right here, like solid, interaction, degenerate, distorted, the thickness, edge sharp, and overhang. So a lot of that's, if you're new to 3D print design, that's not going to make a lot of sense to you. But essentially, Blender is checking to make sure this object is 3D printable. And the way to do that, to check them, you could do each individual one if you wanted to. But what I like to do is just hit this button down at the bottom that says Check All. And once you hit Check All, you should get the result down below. So notice you should too. You should have 26 non-manifold edges. So if you click on that little that error, essentially, that should highlight all these edges around Suzanne's eyes. So Blender is saying, hey, these are holes in your object. So non-manifold just means holes. It's got big holes in it. And then, so now what we need to do is fill in those holes. And so to do that, make sure your mouse is hovering over Suzanne's face, and then just hit F on your keyboard to fill in her eyeballs. It's that simple. So let Blender check highlight the edges for you, and then just hit F, and that will fill it in. And you can do that for any model that you have. If you find something that's got big holes in it, just select the edges and then hit F, and Blender will try to sort that out for you. And now if we hit Check All, notice what happens to these non-manifold edges. So hit Check All, bloop. Notice it goes away to 0, and that's what we want. We want all these to be 0 except for the last one here. And so another thing that the 3D printing toolbox has found for us is that we have 22 non-flat faces. And what that means, let's go ahead and just click it. So click on non-flat faces. And if you can't click on this non-flat faces, you may be in object mode. So you may be able to see that it says 22, but you can't click on it. So hit Tab and make sure you're in edit mode, and that will let you be able to select it. And then, so now what Blender is saying here is that these polygons here, these edges, are like stretched beyond, kind of farther than like realistically possible. So like this one here is like this corner is like way over here. So Blender has a tool that will just fix all that for you. So down at the bottom underneath our results, you should see another little tab here that says Cleanup, and you can click the little triangle here, and that will twiddle it down. And if you click on Distorted, it will fix all of your non-flat faces. So just click on Distorted and watch what happens to Suzanne's eyes here and around her nose and the ear. So go ahead and click Distorted and watch what happens. Bloop. And looky there. So Blender's 3D printing toolbox has fixed all of those messed up pieces of geometry automatically for us and made it more physically reliable and 3D printable. So now if we check all, looky there, we got 0, 0, 0, 0, 0 all the way down, and we have a 3D printable object. So right now we could 3D print this, but we don't have Suzanne's eyes. So good job if you made it this far. We have fixed Suzanne's face to be 3D printable. So good job if you've gotten this far, or if you're watching. That is how you use the 3D print toolbox to fix designs. And so now what I want you to do is go back into to object mode. And if you don't remember, it's just Tab. So just hit Tab on your keyboard, and you should be in object mode in the top left here. And we're going to turn Suzanne's eyes back on right here in the layers. Just turn her eyes back on, and make sure you have the eyes selected. So click on the eyes, and it should be highlighted in your layers, or you should see kind of like a yellow or green highlight around the eyes, and then hit Tab. So essentially we're telling Blender, hey, I want to take the eyes into edit mode. That's kind of the logic there. And so now you can see that the eyes are, clickable. They've got all these little, pieces of wireframe kind of geometry that you can click on, but they're not 3D printable either. So let's turn off Suzanne so we can kind of get a better look at what's going on with her eyes. So just turn off Suzanne. And if we look on the back side of the eyes, they are just like little cups. They're completely open and not watertight. It's not a solid material, a solid mesh. It's just kind of a shell, essentially. So we can go into our 3D print toolbox, say check all, and notice here we have 16 non-manifold edges. So you can click that, and Blender will highlight what the issue is. So it's just saying that there's 2 big holes here, and an easy way to fix that is just hit F on the keyboard, and there you go. Now we've just fixed these designs, and they are now 3D printable. So we'll do check all again, make sure that fixed it. Yep, and there it goes. Non-manifold edges are now 0, and that's what we want. And then down here it says thin faces. So if we click on thin faces, and then you kind of move around, you can also hit period on your numpad, and that will zoom in to what is selected. So Blender is saying that this little edge right here, this guy right here, is too thin, and that a printer, it may have trouble printing that sharp edge right there. So all we have to do, I think it would print fine, but if we want to be correct, we could go to edge mode or just hit 2 on your keyboard, grab that edge right there, and then take our move tool and just drop it down just a little bit, and that'll make it less steep and less sharp. And then if we hit check all, notice it goes away. So now it is not as thin, that angle isn't as sharp. So now everything is zeroed out, and we have 3D printable eyes. So go ahead and turn your Suzanne back on, and there we go. Now we've got 3D printable eyes and a 3D printable head. So if we go to tab, or you can do object mode, now we've got 2 objects, and it looks like it could be 3D printed, but technically these are still 2 separate objects. So what we need to do inside of Blender is join these together. So say if I grabbed the monkey head, and I moved it around, the eyes aren't going to stay with it. They're 2 totally separate objects. So I'm just going to hit Control Z to undo that. And a cool way that you can kind of link objects together inside of Blender, or parent them, is to take the eyes. You can grab the eyes in your layers right here, click and drag it over the Suzanne layer, and hold shift, and notice it says drop to set parent. So again, I'll do that really slowly. You click on the eyes and drag it over Suzanne and hold shift, and then it's going to drop that into Suzanne. So if we twiddle down the Suzanne layer, the eyes are inside of the Suzanne monkey head. So now they're linked together. So if I grab and move the monkey, now everything's going to stay together. But that is just for just kind of keeping them connected, but they're still not technically unified or kind of like meshed together into one object. So that's what we are going to do next, is go into the Boolean operations, and we're going to use a new Bool tool. But let's take a break for a second. I know that's a lot to take in, but hopefully some people out there have been able to fix their Suzanne, or you may just have a quick question if you're just watching. So let's take a break real fast. Hey, all right, thanks for sticking in there, y'all. Let me know if you have any questions, and we will do the next part, which is putting the eyeballs together. Yeah, so Peter said, yes, we will cover Boolean modifiers. And if you don't know what Boolean modifiers are, it's just a really fun, cool word that essentially just means adding or subtracting or slicing objects together. It's very powerful, very fun, and can do a lot of really cool stuff. So I'm going to just teach you the very, very basics. I'm going to teach you how to add the eyes to the head, and then I'm going to teach you how to subtract from the bottom of the monkey, to slice off the bottom to make it nice and flat, so it's really easy to 3D print. Later, China AI, thanks for hanging in there and joining us today. I'm going to take a coffee sip. I've been talking nonstop. yeah. All right. So I'll give it a few more minutes for questions. I know there's kind of a little bit of delay. All right, Ian, loving it so far. Seems like very powerful. Yes, it is very, very, very powerful. It's insane for what you can do. Not only can you do 3D print design, but you can do animation, VR, game assets. You can make movies. You can edit video if you want to do like a YouTube channel or just make some videos. You can do animations of your 3D print designs. You can do renders. You can do code inside of Blender. It's just ridiculous. And let's see. Bob said, where was the pop out operation? Operation for pop out, Bob, is P. So just select the eyes with L. So just hover over the eyeball, hit L, and then hover over the other eye, hit L, and then hit P. And that will select those. Oh, sorry. Excuse me. Hover over the eye, hit L. Hover over the other eye, hit L, and then hit P. And that will, you want to pop it out by selection. And that should give you another layer in your layers panel. Cool. Thanks, Mike. Thanks for coming out. I'll send you a replay. Check if you have selected move, not scale. Cool. Thanks, Super DJ. Andy asked, have I ever used Blender with a graphic tablet? I have used it with a pen tablet for sculpting. So you can use Blender for sculpting, and it's pretty cool. I don't use it that often, but we are going to have a introduction to sculpting class later this year. We do have one that's just kind of like the beginner workflow for 3D print design with sculpting. But long answer to your question, yes, I have used it, but I don't use a pen tablet often. Let's see. Not great at sculpting, so you need to watch a lot of training videos. Well, cool. Yeah, sculpting is one of my favorites. I love sculpting. It does take a little bit of getting used to it, but once you get used to it, it's just like sculpting some butter. We have a training session on ours. If you sign up for some of our education courses, we do have one where you get to sculpt a snowman, and it teaches you the 3D printing workflow. Let's see. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and dive in. Let's put these eyes together and get this ready to 3D print. So here's our last step before we do the effects. So let's go dive back into Blender. Bloop. And let's see here. What we want to do now is use the Bool tool. So what I want y'all to do is click on the eyeballs and then hold Shift on your keyboard and then click Suzanne's head. So we have two things selected. We click the eyes first. That's the thing we want to add to the head. So click what you want and then click the head. So eyes and then hold Shift and click head. It's very important. And then now what we want to do is go to our Bool tool. And to do that, we're going to hit Edit, or excuse me, go into the Edit tab over here, right above your 3D print toolbox. There's the Edit tab, and you should see the Bool tool. If you don't, you may have to twiddle it down. And there's a few different options here. We could do an auto Boolean union, that will essentially bring, it'll merge the objects together, but it's destructive and it's not good. It's gonna there's a time and a place to use that, but for this and for future workflows, I don't want you to do that. I want you to stay a flexible designer. That way you can always come back and make changes on the fly if you need to. So what we're going to use pretty much all the time is brush Booleans. And I want y'all to get in the habit of using brush Booleans because they're just a lot more powerful, I think. So right here under brush Boolean, we're going to use brush Boolean union. So make sure you still have both things selected. Again, one more time, I'll show you. Click on the eyes and then hold Shift and click on the head. And then we're going to do a brush Boolean union. And watch what happens over here in our modifiers. It's going to do a lot of steps for us. So brush Boolean union, bloop. And here we go. We've got a new modifier set to union, and it's for the eyes. So that's like 3 steps that Blender just did, right for us. And the way you know that it successfully worked is that you should see a wireframe pop up around the eyes. And you can even click on that wireframe and adjust the eyes. So maybe the eyes are kind of sticking out a little bit. And maybe you just want them to be a little bit more in, you can slide them ever so slightly, just to kind of get it exactly where you want. So, and what's happening here, it doesn't look like much is happening, but it actually, behind the scenes, Blender is blending these two pieces of geometry, the eyes and the head. It's like melting them together. So it's making the object solid and unified and making it 3D printable. So it's really cool and really powerful. But the cool thing is with this flexible workflow, you can always make adjustments anytime. So that's it. That's all we have to do. Now what I want you to do is go to the side view of your monkey here, and you can just click on the X up here in this little widget, or you can hit 3 on your numpad, and that will take you into side view. So we're completely on the side, and what I want you to do is click on Suzanne's head and hit rotate. You go to your rotate tool and grab the outer, not the white ring, but this little, I'm colorblind, so I think it might be yellow or green, this little thing here, and I want you to rotate it about 45 degrees. Just get it to where Suzanne's eyes are kind of looking up at like a 45-degree angle. And there we go. And then now what I want you to do is we're going to create a cube and slice off the bottom of Suzanne here. That way we don't have to 3D print with wraps or supports. So to add a cube, you could go up to this object drop down up here and click Add Mesh Cube. But what I like to do is use this keyboard shortcut. So if you're into keyboard shortcuts, which I hope you are, or hopefully you begin to over time, is Shift A, and that I think of it as like Shift Add. So Shift A, and that will bring up this quick little drop down, and you can do Mesh Cube. And it did add a cube, but it's really tiny right here. And you should have a little drop down that appeared right here at the bottom. And if you twiddle that up, you can type in how big you want that cube to be. So everyone just type in 75, bloop, and that will increase the size of this cube very much. And then we can go to our grab tool or our move tool and just slide that down until we kind of hit the bottom of the chin on Suzanne and the bottom of the ear. And then now what we're going to do is subtract this cube from Suzanne here. So to do that, make sure you click on the box first. You can see there's an outline around it, and then hold Shift and make sure you click on the head of Suzanne. So the monkey head. So click on the box, then hold Shift and click on the head. And now for the Bool tool, we're going to do a brush Boolean difference. And looky there. Now we've cut the bottom of Suzanne clean off, and that's just to make it so it's really easy for the printer to print the first layer. When we go to 3D print this, it's going to have a nice solid base or foundation to print. And notice with the ears, I've kind of cut through, and there's a hole going through the ears there. So that's what I was always talking about with the flexible design workflow, is that you can grab the cube and still use your move tool and slide that anywhere you want, and you get a real-time cut of like where you want to place the bottom there. So you want to cut off a little bit of the chin, but maybe not too much of the ear there. So I'm going to kind of come down just a little bit. There we go. And I'm not getting any of the chin, so what I'm going to do is just grab Suzanne's head, hit rotate, and just rotate it just a little bit more, just to kind of flatten off the chin, flatten off a little bit of the ear and the bottom of the head. So now we've got a 3D printable base here that's going to be super easy to print. And I'm going to grab the box again, go into our move tool, and maybe go up just a little bit more. And just grab the wireframe there and just go up a little bit right there. There we go. So now we've got a nice clean bottom, and this thing is ready to 3D print. So congratulations if you made it this far, or if you're just watching, this would be like a live workflow of how to make something 3D printable with Blender. So now the fun part. Let's export this out for 3D printing. But before we do that, let's put the cube onto Suzanne. So just grab your cube, hover it over, kind of drag it over Suzanne, hit shift on your keyboard, and that will drop it in once you let go. And now the eyes and the cube are parented to Suzanne here. So that way, if we move the monkey, our box cutter and our eyes all stay together. And that's going to help you later in life when you're doing super advanced object designs. It's going to keep everything really clean and easy to work with. And then, so next, what we want to do is export it for 3D printing. So we're going to go back to our 3D printing toolbox and click on Suzanne. And then at the very, very, very bottom, there's a tab that says Export. And we could go up to here, hit File, Export, and then export in STL. But I want you to get in the habit of using the 3D print toolbox because it just makes it's super easy. Like when you're doing like multiple files or doing like multiple parts for a file or just like constantly updating a file, this little guy here is going to make your life so much easier. So all you have to do is twiddle down the export, and then you may have to scroll down to see. I'm kind of on a small screen here, but you want to see this little field here with the little folder. Click on the folder and then tell Blender where you want the files to go. I'm just going to click the desktop here, hit accept, and then make sure you have Suzanne selected, and then hit export. And it does say format STL, so that's fine. STL is just a format that you can use to 3D print if you're not familiar with that. And just hit export. And notice you'll get a blue kind of confirmation down here at the bottom. And that's it. So now we can open our slicer of choice. You can use Cura, that's a free one. There's also Prusa Slicer, which is free. What slicers do y'all use out there? I'm using Simplify 3D. That is a paid one, but you can, there are free ones out there that are super, super great. Most people I've heard are using Prusa Slicer. That's getting a lot of popularity right now, so definitely check that out. But I'm just going to open up a slicer. And here's all our monkeys. I'm just going to delete all these. And we're going to import our monkey here. So notice it's the name of our project, Monkey Effect, and then the name of our layer, Suzanne. So hit open. And there we go. We've got this cute little monkey that is perfectly sized. All right, cool. We got Cura, Prusa Slicer from Bob, Repetier Host, haven't used that one, and Simplify. Prusa. Cool. I think I'm going to start using Prusa Slicer too, just because it's open source and I've been hearing a lot of love from it. But I know Cura is super popular too. But yeah, now we've got this 3D printable Suzanne head. We can do our settings. Good settings just for kind of starting out is 20% infill for your layer. You can do like 0.2 millimeter layer height, and then for shells, like 2 shells is fine. And we don't need a raft and we don't need a support. Those are optional, but you can just hit OK. Set your settings however you want, and then hit prepare for print. And a good rule of practice I usually like to do is just to scrub through some of the designs and make sure there's no weird artifacting going. And there we go. So for anyone who said Blender is not able to be used for 3D printing, it is just a bold-faced lie. It is actually pretty awesome and amazing. I use it for tons of client work, and all my students are using it right now. And you can do pretty much anything. Once you learn all the tools, but this is 3D printable. Now let's go back into Blender and put some effects on it. So now what I want you to do is, and notice here, we didn't apply any of these modifiers. I want you to keep these open. I really don't ever want you to, I'm going to turn on my screen here. I'm serious about this. So I really don't ever want you to ever apply a modifier unless you absolutely have to, or if you're doing it for a certain reason. But I want you to be able to get in the habit or the mindset or in the workflow of keeping everything open and flexible and generative, because you never know when you're working for yourself or for a client if they want changes or you want changes like a few days or weeks later. You're always going to have that flexibility, and that's why I want you to start thinking like that and try to practice that. So now let's do the fun part where we're going to add all these different effects, and it's only going to take a few clicks. So this is the last section of our training here. So let's go ahead and dive back in it. Yeehaw! All right, so now we're back inside of Blender here, and what we're going to do is click on the collection or folder that's called Flexible Design, right click it, and duplicate that collection. And if we scroll down, let me get some more room here. I'm going to close my studio up, just twiddle that up, just to give us a little bit more room here. So now you can see it's Flexible Design 001, and it's made a duplicate of Suzanne called Suzanne.001. You can just double click that, and we're going to rename this Suzanne Low Poly. So just Suzanne Low Poly. And what we're going to do is just add another modifier. So to add a modifier, make sure you're in your modifiers tab down here. It's a little wrench. So you make sure you have that selected. And then under modifier, you're going to do add modifier. And then on the second column, we're going to do the fourth or fifth one down called decimate. And we're going to decimate this this monkey here. And I'm going to twiddle up this bool tool and this one here, just kind of give us some more space. And we're going to turn the ratio down to maybe like 0.2. We're going to drop it. Right now the face count is 1,000 faces, but once we select or click out of here, it's going to drop very, very far. And you can't see what's happening because the monkeys are actually on top of each other. So what I want you to do, make sure you have Suzanne Low Poly selected and your grab or move tool selected, and just slide it on over to the right or to the left, either way. And notice that the eyes and the cube all stay together. That's exactly what we want. So if yours slides together, you have done it correctly. If not, you need to go back and make sure that your cube and eyes are, have been dropped into your Suzanne layer. And so now we've got Suzanne Low Poly. So just click on Suzanne Low Poly. We're going to go to our 3D printing toolbox, and it already knows where we want to put them, and we're just going to hit export. Bloop, and there we go. So now we've got a low poly design. Super easy. And then we're going to take this Flexible Design 1, right click it, duplicate that collection. Now we've got this new design, Flexible Design 002. Double click on Suzanne layer, and we're going to change that to, let me see my notes here, to Subsurf. Or actually, let's just call it Suzanne Smooth. So Suzanne Smooth. And you don't have to do the period like I did. It could just be like smooth. Suzanne Smooth. And we can delete this decimate modifier. Just delete that. And add on the second column here. Go down almost to the bottom and do a subdivision surface. I love this one. So it looks like nothing's happened because the designs are on top of themselves. So just take your little tool here, and just move it on back. Make sure you have your Suzanne Smooth layers selected. And now if you look, we have smoothed out this low poly design. We can toggle this effect on with this little computer screen here. So that's what it used to look like. And that's what it looks like with the Subsurf on. And you can even crank up the viewport here. So like maybe 2 or 3. The higher you crank that up, though, the more intense and heavy it's going to get on your computer. So I'm just going to leave it at 2. And that's just going to smooth it out. But notice at the bottom here, let's see, I might have to switch views here. The bottom looks all weird. It's like kind of got all these weird things going on. It's not as flat as I would like it. So all you'd have to do is just take your Subsurf, and there's these 2 arrows right here. And essentially Blender is adding these modifiers in order of operation, from top to bottom. So it's doing the Boolean add for the eyes, then it's doing the Boolean cut for the bottom of the box, and then it's adding the Subsurf. So we can just bring that layer up with that arrow, and notice now we get a nice clean bottom right there. And you could even take this box, and slide it up even more if you wanted to, so it's very flexible workflow there. And now just click on Suzanne Smooth and hit export. Boom. Now we have another design. And so now we can click on the flexible design 002, right click it and duplicate that one. And then for the design, flexible design 3, we're going to add a wireframe. So just double click that, call it Suzanne wireframe. And we don't need the subsurf modifier, so just delete the one in the middle there. We don't need that one anymore for this one. And we're going to drag it on over. We got a new design here. And what we're going to do here is the wireframe. And I love the wireframe. It's so cool looking. So we're going to go add modifier. And then second column all the way to the bottom almost, and do wireframe. And it looks kind of weird. It looks like little spider webs or something. But we just need to increase the thickness. And notice that we're in millimeters because of the project file that I gave y'all that lets you, set up for millimeters. So just type in, maybe we want it to be like 2 millimeters thick. Whoa. So that looks pretty good, but we've got these weird spikes shooting out of Suzanne's eyeballs, which is not good. So all you have to do to fix that is just uncheck even thickness. And there you go. Now it is 3D printable. So we'll just hit export. Bloop. Make sure you have the right layer selected. Hit export. And there we go. So now we've got another design. And then the next one we're going to do is just duplicate flexible design 003. And let's rename this one. Let's call this Suzanne Voronoi. Voroni. And so for this one, we're going to keep the wireframe, but we're going to add a very familiar modifier we just used called the subdivision surface. So we're compounding modifiers to get super advanced, crazy looking results. So looky here. We may have to slide it on over. So I'm just going to slide this monkey over. And go ahead and save. This can get kind of heavy on the computer here. So notice the wireframe is very boxy and cool looking. I'm going to turn on Eevee so we can see the shadows. So it's very boxy and kind of framey. But the Voronoi has the wireframe and the subsurf. And if you crank that up to 2, notice we're getting like this nice organic kind of mesh here. And if we went into edit mode on our monkey head, we could go into point mode and grab different points and go up. When we go back to object mode, it's going to make those adjustments automatically. So it's very flexible and super easy to make adjustments all the time. So I'm just going to undo that just to keep everything looking good. But you can always go back and adjust things on the fly. So for this one, we'll just click on Suzanne Voronoi and do export. Hey, all right, and there we got that. And then we're going to do one more. So click on your flexible design, right click, and duplicate collection. And then for this one, we're going to change this name to Suzanne Blocks. This is going to be our blocky Suzanne. And so for this one, we can get rid of our wireframe, and we can get rid of our subdivision surface, and just move that monkey on forward. And we're going to use a modifier over here called remesh. And it's the second column, kind of right there in the center, remesh. And at first it looks pretty terrible. But if you switch the mode from sharp to blocks, some interesting stuff is starting to happen. Kind of starts looking more 8-bit. And if we increase the octave depth, hey, we're getting somewhere. It's starting to look more like Wreck-It Ralph or something, a little 8-bit kind of design. And you can do this for any model that you find online or anything that you create. And I notice I'm kind of cutting through the ears there. So I'm just going to grab this box and just bring it down just a little bit. There we go. And another thing to notice, if I go into material preview, we're not getting a flat bottom on this remesh. So all we'd have to do is go to our Suzanne blocks and then just rearrange those modifiers. And so the stack order is very important inside of Blender. But notice we're not applying any of the modifiers. We're going to keep everything open and flexible. So there we go. Now we've gotten all the designs. We've got 6 different designs here, 5 different effects. we're going to click Suzanne Blocks and hit export. And there we go. So now we have 6 different monkeys that you can 3D print. I'll email you these later if you didn't follow along, if you're just watching today. And then let's go back to our slicer. And I'm going to bring in all the different monkeys. Here they are. So the name of our project and then all the different types. So we'll just bring in these. Bloop, and then rearrange them. And there we go. So now we've got cool, super awesome effects from this one design right here. And it looks like we've done all this crazy work, but we did it in just a few minutes. So let's go ahead and prepare for print. I got the same settings. And let it slice it up. It's pretty heavy because we've got a lot of polygons here, a lot of faces. And there we go. So within 7.5 hours, we get 6 different monkeys that can all be 3D printed on FDM or SLA 3D printers. No rafts, no supports, straight off the print bed. So yeah, that is how you do the flexible design workflow, how you make objects manifold, how you fix designs with the 3D printing toolbox, and how to add some cool design effects. So yeah, that's all I have for y'all today. I did want to give y'all some surprise bonuses for staying with me. Everyone who Marcus said unfreaking believable. Really cool. I'm glad y'all liked it. I know it was a lot to take in, but I really think it's a great software for 3D printing and 3D print design. But I also wanted to share with y'all our classes. So if you are interested and you want to start learning 3D print design, and maybe you don't know where to start or what you need to do, we have tons of different stuff. We have our online beginner workshop, which we are doing this week. And you actually just watched the first half of our 3D printing workshop. So this is our website here for the workshop. And hopefully y'all can still hear me. Check. Okay, cool. And this is happening this month. So if you want to dive in, it's kind of like an online college class 3D print design boot camp for people that just want to really transform within 30 days. I'm really going to be pushing y'all to learn Blender. You'll do 10 different projects and learn Eevee. And they all kind of compound on each other. So for the first week, you'll do 2 lessons. The first one we did today. And the next one is, I don't know if you can see this, but it's making an actual product of this little cheese wedge. And you'll be able to, make a practical design. And then week 2, we'll get into some more advanced. Week 3, we'll compound onto that. And then week 4, you'll get an intro into sculpting and do some more stuff. But really just, I want you to be able to 3D print your own ideas. Like that's my main goal. I'm becoming one of the best 3D print designers on the planet. And I want to just create an army of 3D print designers that can, we can all help each other and talk and, take over the world, really. Not really. But the best part is Blender is open source. It's community based. So I'm kind of just staying in that same vein of just building an online community of like-minded people who want to do 3D print design. So the enrollment, there's 3 days left for if you want to get on this workshop. We don't do the workshops every month. The last one was in February. So this one will have a few more days to get in if you are interested. And we usually only take about 30 students. So if you are interested, go ahead and jump in. We did have a lot of people sign up for the training today. So if a lot of people sign up, we may increase that, but there will be a limit because it's only just me and Amber. So I just want to make sure every student gets the attention and time that they need and deserve. There's also a trailer if you want to watch on our website. But essentially why you'd want to join the workshop is to transform quickly, like, within 30 days, expand your creativity. We're going to meet every single weekend, every Sunday at noon. We're going to meet as a class and talk about designs. We'll slice your designs. You can show off any creative other designs that you made throughout that week. And as a bonus, you'll get a free yearly membership to our monthly courses. So I'm creating, while you guys are taking the workshop, I'm creating new courses for product design and pumping out courses pretty much every month. So you'll get a full year of that automatically when you join the workshop. You'll meet a community on our Discord, and you get access to me through a 1 hour one-on-one. So if there's a certain week that you're like, hey, I really need some help, or you have a lot of questions, or you're just frustrated or stuck, then just set up a meeting with me and we can jump on a call and, we'll get you through it. It's, I really want you guys to, learn design, and there is a 30-day money-back guarantee. So, I know you're going to love it. All my students that have gone through it have really enjoyed it. And so if you're not happy, or you don't think you really learned anything, or you're like, design's not for me, then we will give you your cash back, 30 days, no questions. It's all good. And so, so you're going to get our orientation, the Beginner 101, which we did half of today. You get Beginner 102, which is the flexible design technique and workflows. And then Beginner 103 for week 3, and then Beginner 104. So that's 10 projects in 30 days. And it's about roughly like an hour to maybe 2-3 hours per week, so and I'm going to be messaging you guys like, hey, how's your Suzanne's coming? How's your cheese wedges coming? So we've got all the information on our website if you want to look at that and kind of get more information on every single lesson. And it's going to you're going to surprise yourself. I've had students that haven't done anything with 3D design, and by like week 2 and 3, they're just going crazy and making their own stuff. It's really fun to see everybody kind of blossom and find their own style. And so week 4, you'll get some sculpting, like I mentioned earlier. You're also going to do a phone amplifier to fit your phone. You can do really any phone product you want, but I'll show you how to do that and how to render out your designs with the EV render engine. And so, so we've got a lot of testimonials if you want to kind of hear about what other students are saying. We've got a few here on the website, and we also have a ton more on this page that you can read. And you can also message me if you have any questions. One of our students, Max from 3D With Us, he did our workshop, and he actually wrote a blog post on the pros and cons of it, versus YouTube versus doing like courses or workshops. So go check that out if you're interested. Max is blowing it up right now. I love it. And so the workshop perks for joining the workshop, it is going to be intense. You are going to learn a lot, and you are going to transform into a 3D print designer, but you're going to get 8 hours of videos, 5 to 10 hours of design per week, depending on, how quick you are, or, it really just depends on per student. And then you get the weekly meetups with us. So we're going to meet through like a Zoom or Skype or Google Hangouts call, probably Zoom. But we'll all meet and kind of ask questions. Usually those are about 30 minutes to an hour. Then you'll also get a one-on-one training hour with me if you need it. Just set up a time with me. I have office hours, so you're actually going to have someone to talk to. I mean, this is my job, training people and, creating new stuff, products, and working with clients. So I'll be available for y'all if y'all do have questions. You'll get a completion of certificate. You can access these on your phone. You can download all the projects and the files. So if you want to kind of reverse engineer them, you'll have access to all of that. And then all the lessons are downloadable too if you want to, take them on the airplane. And then you'll also, as a bonus, we just started this. It's a digital downloads membership. So I'm going to be pumping out like crazy awesome designs this month and for the rest of my life. But you guys are going to be the only people who have access to these files. And I've got a lot of crazy ideas coming up. So one of them will be like dog armor. We've got just insane stuff coming. And then we've got the Discord. We have an open Discord, which a lot of y'all signed up for. So thank y'all. But the workshop only is just for students. So that's just the students that are in the workshop. Nobody else can see except for any of our alumni. But they can be there to help and guide y'all and kind of just see what y'all are learning and see y'all's progress and help you if y'all need it. And then I'll be there to help as well. And then, like I said earlier, you get a free 1-year membership to our all access courses. So all future courses that we make throughout the year and into the future, you'll get a 12-month membership for that and the 30-day guarantee. So yeah, so that's essentially all that is about $900 worth of bonuses and, just courses and my time and, student time and just kind of investing in yourself. So we got 3 days, and right now we sell the course for $299. We do have payment plans, but since y'all stayed and hung out with me today, I'm going to give y'all a bonus 50% off. So you can get started for pretty much nothing. And so if you hit complete and continue down at the bottom of your the course page that you're on, that will let you into the next page where you can see all the coupons there. And then so if y'all are interested in that, that is my spiel on our kind of like online boot camp here. And then we also have, if you're not interested in the workshop and you're kind of more of a self-paced person, then we also have the monthly all access memberships where you'll just get all of our courses, and you can also get a discount for that as well today too. So I'm going to open it up for questions if y'all have any questions. And I want to give y'all a really cool PDF that Ed over at Institute of 3D Print Design gave me. It's amazing. It's like just super helpful tips, really good for people who are just starting out 3D printing. And I read it a few weeks ago, and I was like, I didn't even know some of this stuff. So I'll put that here in the chat. Let me get the link real quick. And you can download this free PDF, and he'll just email it to you. So I'll add that to the chat. But yeah, thanks again, Ed, for shouting us out today. And I'm just going to open it up for questions if y'all have anything y'all want to ask. So here, I'll put the link in the description for the PDF. So hopefully y'all can click on that. Later, Super DJ, thanks for coming out. All right, let me get to the chat here. All right. So we'll just open it up for questions. Thanks everyone I know we went a little bit over, but there's a lot to cover in this. So cool. Thanks, Mr. Bozaya. I'm glad it was very helpful. Also, if you do need a recap, we will be sending this out to y'all. And since you signed up, you do have access to the Beginner 101, which will go over these exact same steps, just in more detail. Rigid Ink, yeah! Thanks, Ed. So good to see you, dude. Ed. Leonardo, yeah, dude. Well, come on in. Learn. I'm going to be learning. Yeah. And if y'all don't, I will be dropping, free lessons on YouTube every 2 weeks. It'll, just every 2 weeks I'll have lessons coming out. But if you want the early stuff and the latest, it's all going to be at ptt.live for the members. Later, Bob. Thanks for coming by. Thomas, we're going to send out a replay later today once everything processes. Thanks, Ezreal. Glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, I know. It's a lot to take in, but I'm glad you came and hung out. Yeah, just watching is good. So maybe we'll do that in the future. I'll just show off the power of Blender. Yeah, so Silvana. Cool. All right. I'm glad it sounded simple. Robert. Yes, I'm actually making a PDF of commands, and I'll send that out hopefully by the end of the week. So that was for Robert. Yes, Reno. No worries. Yeah, check out the 101. I think you'll love it. Thanks, Royston. Royston was one of the first people in here. Stay till the end. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah. Y'all go get that PDF. It's great. Yeah, so Rigid Ink is Ed. He's the Institute of 3D Print Design. He used to run Rigid Ink, but now he is doing training and helping people learn 3D printer tips and helping people all over the globe, and it's amazing. So, I'm focusing more on the design side, and he's more on the technical side. So together, you shouldn't have any problems with 3D printing with both of us. Thanks, Mr. Catchers. I appreciate you hanging. Cool. Later, Ian. I know you were in here. Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah, I need to get some food, too. Thanks, Maria. Appreciate you. Thank you for the love. Thanks, John Cullen. David Crispin. Excellent. Cool. Man, this makes me so happy, guys. I'm glad y'all. I feel like I was overwhelming y'all, but I'm glad y'all are enjoying it. Got lost at the eyes. Yes. I will definitely send this out to y'all. Hey, Big Bird, Chiropractor Talks. Getting better every time. Thanks for coming out again today, Big Bird. Where is the discount? Non-workshop courses. Marcus asks, where is the discount for the non-workshop? If you click complete and continue on the workshop offer, it should take you to the discount for the courses, the all access courses. Hopefully that answers your question. Yeah, Mom, stay till the end. Thank you, Mom. Later, Janie. Octilia. Cool. Yeah. Feel free if you want to take the course. That offer I think is good for 48 hours or until Sunday night. So Sunday night we're starting week 2. So you have a few more days to catch up, do the cheese wedge here, and dive into week 2. And I'm gonna be pushing y'all. So don't sign up for the workshop unless you really want to learn, because I'm gonna be on y'all. Like, come on, guys, where's your cheese wedges? So it should be a lot of fun. Let's see. Oh, yeah. So Chiropractor Talk said he likes the Boolean changes for non-commit. Yes. So I just updated all the classes. Like, it was already a 5-star course, but it was for Blender Beta. So I've spent the last 2 months pretty much updating the entire course. It used to be like 4 hours long. Now it's 8 hours long. Like, I've just pumped tons of content in there, and I think y'all are going to love it. So I'm excited for all the new workshop students to learn some stuff with me. Written commands to help follow the video would be great. Yes. So that's a great tip. I did have the clicks down there at the bottom, Bob. But maybe we'll send a PDF next time. That's very helpful. Thank you. Oh, and Amber said if you're not seeing the offer, just refresh the page that you're on right now, or you can just log back in, from one of the emails we sent you, and you should see the offer there. So that's who's asking that? Oh, Amber just said that. Yes, we do take PayPal, so you can do PayPal or credit card if you want. Is the PDF the link above? I'm not sure what you mean, Mr. Hindsight. I like that name. The PDF is coming. So the shortcuts will be out this week or this weekend. Thanks, Arnold. I'm glad it helped you. It says live training and will be valid for the workshop. I don't find anything else. Maybe I'm blind. Marcus, reply to any of the emails that I sent you and we can help you out. It says live training and it would be valid for the workshop. Not sure what you mean by that. Huh. So it says, Thomas said the code was rejected. Amber, do you mind looking at the code to see? It should be set up. If not, just send us an email and we'll make sure that you get the discount for hanging out with us today. Okay, cool. Yeah. Thanks, Marcus. Yeah, and the code should be non-case sensitive for anyone. But yeah, I guess that's looks like the chat's slowing down. But again, thanks everyone for coming to hang out. If you missed it, we will be doing these maybe in a few months from now. I'm not sure when, maybe later this year. But feel free to jump in the Discord. We have an open designer Discord for anyone who's interested. And then we also have our student-only Discord. But yeah, hope to see y'all, meet y'all. Would love to see what y'all are creating. And, let's make some stuff. Thanks, Mike Russo. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Thanks, Sebastian. All right, well, I'll go ahead and turn off the chat. Let's see if I can get it here. All right. Well, everyone have a good day. And I will talk to y'all in the Discord. All right. Later. Peace. If I can get it. I think I got it.